Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into endocrinology today,
Oh, yeah.
but with a bit of a twist.
All right.
We're looking at it through the eyes of paramedics,
I like it.
those folks on the front lines dealing with uh, what the textbook calls endocrine emergencies.
Ah, high stakes stuff.
Exactly. And speaking of the textbook, that's our source material for today.
Oh, cool. What kind of textbook is it?
It's a paramedic textbook, actually.
Makes sense.
And it's packed with these like real life case studies, which is what we're going to dive into.
Oh, case studies are the best.
Right. It really makes it, well, real, you know?
Totally. You can really see how it all plays out in the field.
Yeah, exactly. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the cases, I think it's worth mentioning that the endocrine system, well, it's complex.
Oh, absolutely. Hormones,
Right.
glands, feedback loops, the whole shebang.
The thing is, it's all about balance, right? Like one hormone goes up, another one goes down. It's all interconnected.
Delicate balance, for sure.
And when that balance gets thrown off, well, that's when things can go wrong. And that's where these endocrine emergencies come in.
Exactly. And I'm guessing a lot of these cases we're going to talk about today probably revolve around diabetes, right?
You guessed it. The textbook really focuses on diabetes mellitus and how it can present in all sorts of ways.
Makes sense. It's
Mhm.
one of the most common endocrine disorders out there.
For sure. And it can be really tricky for paramedics to like diagnose and treat in those emergency situations, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Uh,
Because I can mimic so many other things, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's jump into our first case.
Okay, hit me.
This one introduces us to Nancy, a woman in her 60s.
Yeah.
It's a snowy December day.
Bird.
Paramedics get called to her home. Her husband, he's the one who called. He says she's been feeling off for a few days.
Okay.
When the paramedics see her, she's like really lethargic, confused,
Oh.
and she just keeps complaining of being thirsty.
Mm.
And her husband mentions that she has a history of high blood pressure and managed diabetes.
Okay, so there are some pre-existing conditions there.
Just from that initial impression, what are your thoughts? What's going through your head as a paramedic?
Well, already those symptoms like the lethargy and confusion, especially with the diabetes, it makes you think about a possible blood sugar issue,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And then the thirst, that's a classic sign that something's up with her glucose regulation.
Exactly. So the paramedics, they do what they do best. They take her vitals,
Of course.
and her blood pressure is through the roof. Her heart is racing. Her skin is warm and dry.
Hmm.
But here's the real shocker. Her blood glucose level is 34.0 millimole.
Wow, that is seriously high.
It is, right. I mean, for those listening who might not be familiar with those numbers, what does that actually mean for her body?
Well, it means her body's in a state of crisis.
Okay.
That level of glucose, it's incredibly dangerous.
Oh, wow.
Remember, glucose is like the body's primary fuel, but it needs insulin to get into the cells to be used, right?
Right.
Right. And in her case, it seems like either she's not producing enough insulin or her body's not responding to it properly. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So all that glucose is building up in her bloodstream.
And that's causing all those problems.
You got it.
So paramedics got to act fast, right?
Absolutely.
Oxygen, 5E fluids, close monitoring, the whole 9 yards.
Get her stabilized into the hospital ASAP.
Exactly. But on the way to the hospital, she has a tonic-clonic seizure.
Oh, no. That's not good.
Yeah, it's a serious turn of events.
A seizure, it means the brain's in distress.
Hmm?
In this case, it's most likely from those really high blood sugar levels messing with her brain function, you know.
So based on what we've heard so far, what's your diagnosis? What do you think's going on with Nancy?
Well, putting it all together, her age, the diabetes history, that sky-high blood sugar, and those specific symptoms, it sounds a lot like hyperglycemic, hyperosmolar non-ketotic acidosis.
Whoa, say that again?
Hyperglycemic, hyperosmolar non-ketotic acidosis, or HHNK for short.
HHNK. Got it.
It's a mouthful, I know.
So what is that exactly? Break it down for us.
Well, it's a pretty serious complication of diabetes,
Okay.
usually type 2, and it often affects older adults.
Interesting.
Now, here's the thing. HHNK, it's not as immediately life-threatening as, say, DKA, which is diabetic ketoacidosis.
Okay, so there's a difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
But HHNK can be a bit more sneaky, you know?
Oh, how so?
Well, those early symptoms, like this increased thirst and fatigue, they can be subtle, especially in older folks,
Ah, I see.
and often get brushed off as just part of getting older.
Right, makes sense.
And that's why it's so important to be aware to catch it early.
Especially if you have diabetes or know someone who does.
Exactly. Early detection is key.
But okay, back to Nancy.
Yeah.
What makes HHNK so dangerous in that moment? Like, what's happening inside her body?
Well, basically, it leads to severe dehydration.
Dehydration.
Yeah, the high blood sugar, it pulls fluid from her body's tissues, including vital organs like the brain.
Oh,
And
wow.
that leads to a whole cascade of problems.
Like the confusion and lethargy.
Exactly. And in severe cases, it can even lead to seizures and coma.
Scary stuff. And to think it can all start with something as simple as just feeling a little more thirsty.
That's the thing. It can be really subtle at first, which is why recognizing those early warning signs and seeking medical attention is crucial.
Absolutely. Early intervention can make all the difference.
For sure.
Okay, so we've seen how high blood sugar can lead to HHNK.
Right.
Makes sense. But this next case with Dan, it's a total flip. Low blood sugar causing all sorts of chaos, aggression, confusion, the works.
Yeah, hypoglycemia.
Yep.
Tricky one.
So how does that work? Like, how can low blood sugar cause that kind of reaction?
Well, think of it this way. Your brain runs on glucose. It's like its primary fuel source.
Okay, the brain needs sugar.
Big time. And when blood sugar levels drop, the brain basically starts short-circuiting.
Oh, wow.
It can't send signals properly, so you get confusion, irritability, even seizures.
It's like a car sputtering, running out of gas.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Everything just grinds to a halt.
So it's not just feeling a little shaky, it's a complete personality shift.
Exactly. It can be really scary, especially for those witnessing it.
And that's exactly what the paramedics walked into with Dan.
Oh, boy.
This call starts with, actually, the police are already on scene.
Whoa.
They find Dan. He's a 16-year-old, recently diagnosed with diabetes, and he's completely out of control, violent, confused, screaming.
Yikes.
His parents are beside themselves. The police are having a hard time restraining him.
Oh, what a situation.
Total chaos. So what happened? What led to this outburst?
Well, according to his parents, Dan had been playing basketball with friends.
Okay. Active.
Then he came home, ate something, and then, bam, went downhill fast.
So what happened?
Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar.
But he just ate. How's that possible?
That's the thing with diabetes. It's all about balance. The physical exertion from basketball, then the food, it probably threw his insulin-glucose balance way off.
Ah, so it's like a delicate dance.
Exactly. The timing of his insulin, the food, the exercise, it all plays a role.
So the paramedics, they see the classic signs of hypoglycemia, right?
Yep. Pale, sweaty skin, shallow breathing, racing heart,
And his blood glucose.
dangerously low. 2.2 millimole.
Another medical emergency.
Absolutely. This really highlights how crucial that glucose is for the brain.
And even a short period of being that low can have these severe consequences.
You got it. It can disrupt brain function so much that it leads to these extreme behavioral changes. It's a neurological emergency, not just feeling shaky.
And treating someone in that state, I imagine it's incredibly difficult.
You're right. Safety comes first. They might have to restrain him, prevent him from hurting himself or others. Then they need to get that blood sugar up fast, usually with intravenous glucose.
Get that fuel back to the brain.
Exactly. It's all about stabilizing the situation and addressing that underlying cause.
Wow. So we've seen high blood sugar with HHNK, the dangers of low blood sugar with Dan, but what happens when low blood sugar combines with another dangerous complication? That's what we'll explore in our next case.
Oh, sounds intriguing.
It involves an unconscious woman and a bit of a mystery.
I'm all ears.
Picture this. A 45-year-old woman found unconscious on a sidewalk.
Okay, that's not good.
Bystanders call 911.
Of course.
Paramedics arrive.
Yeah.
And they find her lying there, unresponsive, but there's this strange fruity odor on her breath.
Fruity odor, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, before we even get to the medical stuff, that fruity odor, it's a pretty significant clue.
It definitely is. It suggests something specific might be going on metabolically, you know?
Okay, keeping the suspense going. So besides the fruity breath, she's breathing really deeply and rapidly, and she's showing signs of cyanosis, meaning her skin has this bluish tint, lack of oxygen.
Not a good sign.
Definitely not. And she's incontinent of urine.
Okay, things are adding up.
Did they find anything on her that gives them more clues about her history?
Well, they find a few medications in her purse. Cardizem, Tylenol, ibuprofen, the usual suspects. But more importantly, they find a medic alert bracelet. It says she has diabetes and hypertension.
Ah, so diabetes is back in the picture. And when they check her blood glucose,
What's that?
alarmingly low,
Yeah.
just 1 millimole. Another case of hypoglycemia.
Could be. But remember that fruity breath.
Yeah.
That's a classic sign of diabetic ketoacidosis,
DKA.
DKA.
So how is this different from HHNK, which we talked about with Nancy?
Good question. Both are serious complications of diabetes, but there are some key differences. DKA involves ketones in the blood.
Ketones, remind me, what are those again?
So ketones, they're acidic byproducts of fat metabolism.
Okay.
When the body doesn't have enough insulin to use glucose for energy, it starts burning fat instead.
Right, makes sense.
And that process creates ketones.
Gotcha.
And those ketones, they build up in the bloodstream, making the blood acidic.
Okay, so ketones are bad news.
Pretty much. And unfortunately, DKA has a higher mortality rate than HHNK.
Oh, wow, that's serious.
It's a very serious condition.
But why the fruity breath? What's the connection there?
Well, one of the ketones produced is acetone.
Acetone, like nail polish remover.
Exactly. It's got that distinctive fruity smell.
Ah, so that's where the odor comes from?
Yep, that's your ketone signature right there.
And the rapid breathing.
That's the body trying to fight back.
Okay.
Those deep, rapid breaths, we call them Kussmaul respirations.
Poo-small respirations.
They help get rid of carbon dioxide from the lungs.
And why is that important?
It helps raise the pH of the blood, trying to counteract that acidity from the ketones.
Wow, so her body's basically waging a chemical war within itself.
Yeah, it's a desperate attempt to restore balance.
Amazing how the body tries to compensate even when facing such a serious threat.
The human body is pretty incredible.
It is, but in this case, it's not enough.
Nope, she needs medical attention, stat.
So rapid transport to the hospital, DKA is life-threatening.
Absolutely. Every minute counts.
Man, this is heavy stuff. We've covered 3 very different scenarios: HHNK, hypoglycemia, and DKA, each with its own unique challenges and symptoms.
Yeah, it really shows the variety of ways these endocrine emergencies can present.
So what are some key takeaways from these cases that we can apply to a broader understanding of endocrine emergencies?
Well, first of all, it's clear that these emergencies aren't just abstract concepts in a textbook.
Right.
They're real-life situations with real people. And those subtle differences in symptoms, they can make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. You got to be able to read those clues and make the right call fast.
Exactly. And the textbook really emphasizes that,
Yeah.
Recognizing those specific signs and symptoms, it's crucial.
It's like being a detective, putting those pieces together.
Exactly. Is the patient confused and thirsty? Agitated and sweaty? Fruity breath? Those are all clues that point us in different directions.
It's fascinating, really.
It is, and it makes you realize the pressure paramedics face.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Split-second decisions that can mean life or death.
The textbook doesn't shy away from that. It really underscores the importance of rapid assessment, accurate diagnosis.
And how it all hinges on recognizing those key symptoms.
You got it.
But there's also another layer to this, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's the immediate emergency, but then there's the bigger picture.
The underlying causes.
Exactly. And often, that leads back to diabetes management.
So we're moving from the acute situation to, like, long-term strategies.
Yeah, the textbook raises this really interesting point. It asks, why are we so focused on reacting to these emergencies rather than trying to prevent them in the first place?
That's a great question. And when you think about it, all 3 of our cases, they all involve diabetes in some way.
Exactly. If we could help people manage their diabetes more effectively, wouldn't that reduce the number of these life-threatening emergencies?
Makes sense to me. But how do we do that? How do we make that shift?
Well, the textbook highlights a few key areas. Education is a big one.
Empowering people with the knowledge to take control of their health.
Exactly. Help them understand their condition, recognize those early warning signs, and manage their blood sugar.
So it's about being proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly. And technology plays a big role here too. We're seeing some incredible advancements in diabetes technology, like continuous glucose monitors.
Those are the ones that give you real-time blood sugar readings, right?
Yeah, those. And insulin pumps that deliver insulin automatically.
It's like having a high-tech support system right there with you.
It is. But technology is only part of the solution, right?
Right. Can't just rely on gadgets.
Access to quality healthcare is crucial too. Regular checkups, early detection of complications, ongoing support from healthcare professionals.
So it's about having a team in your corner guiding you, helping you stay on track.
Exactly. And we also have to think about those broader societal factors that contribute to diabetes in the first place,
Like food insecurity, lack of access to healthy food.
Yep, those are big ones. And promoting healthy lifestyles, making it easier for people to make healthy choices.
It's a reminder that health isn't just about individual responsibility, it's also about creating supportive environments.
Well said. And it all circles back to that initial point. shifting our focus from just reacting to emergencies
Mhm.
to embracing those preventative measures.
It's a big challenge, but it's a worthwhile one.
Absolutely. It has the potential to make a real difference in people's lives.
It's inspiring to think about those possibilities. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's bring it back to those paramedics on the front lines.
Okay, yeah.
What are some of the key skills and knowledge that stand out to you from these cases?
What really strikes me is their ability to stay calm under pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
These are intense, high-stakes situations, but the paramedics in these case studies, they're incredibly composed. They're methodical in their assessments, quick on their feet.
Laser focused on patient care.
Exactly. It's impressive.
It is. And I think it's easy to overlook the mental and emotional toll this job takes, dealing with life and death on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, and the textbook touches on that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it points out that being a paramedic, it's not just about medical knowledge.
What else is there?
It's also about having the resilience, the compassion to handle those tough situations.
So it's a calling, not just a job.
It is a commitment to helping people in their most vulnerable moments.
And that's something worth recognizing and respecting.
Absolutely. These paramedics, they're unsung heroes.
We really are. They're out there every day making those split-second decisions that can literally change the course of someone's life.
Couldn't agree more. Their ability to assess, diagnose, and intervene in these endocrine emergencies, it's a testament to their dedication and expertise.
It is, for sure. Okay, so we've talked about recognizing those specific symptoms, the need for early intervention, the importance of long-term diabetes management in preventing these emergencies. What else stands out to you as a key takeaway from these cases?
One more thing I think is worth highlighting is the incredible resilience of the human body.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective.
Even when faced with these really serious, life-threatening conditions like we saw in these cases, the body has this amazing capacity to fight back, to try and heal.
It's like it has this inner drive to survive.
Exactly. Take Nancy's case. Her body was dealing with sky-high blood sugar, but it was still trying to compensate, to bring things back into balance.
And with the unconscious woman, her body was desperately trying to counteract that acidity caused by DKA.
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of these huge challenges, there's this innate drive within us to survive, to heal, to find a way back to equilibrium.
It's humbling, really, the complexity of the human body and its ability to adapt and persevere.
It is, and I think it's a message of hope. Even when things seem really dire, there's always a chance for recovery, for healing.
That's a beautiful thought.
But that recovery, it often depends on a delicate balance between medical intervention, personal responsibility, and those broader societal supports that we talked about.
It's a collective effort. We all have a role to play in creating a world where these emergencies are less frequent.
And where people living with diabetes have the support and resources they need to thrive.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, what's the one message you hope our listeners will take away with them today?
That's a good question. I think the biggest takeaway is this. While these endocrine emergencies are serious and they can be life-threatening, there's also a lot of hope.
I love that. It's not all doom and gloom.
Not at all. There are things we can do, both individually and as a society, to make a real difference.
By staying informed, making healthy choices, advocating for better healthcare, and supporting each other.
Exactly. We can create a brighter future for ourselves and for generations to come.
Well said. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of endocrinology. We hope you found it informative, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit inspiring. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore some of the cutting-edge research and innovations that are shaping the future of diabetes management.
So we're picking up where we left off, right, with that idea of shifting from reaction to prevention when it comes to endocrine emergencies.
Exactly. It's a complex issue, but I think it's a crucial one to address.
Absolutely. And the textbook actually does a good job of laying out some of the challenges and potential solutions.
Okay, so let's dive into those. What are some of the things that researchers and healthcare providers are focusing on when it comes to preventing these emergencies?
Well, one area that's really gaining traction is personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine. Okay, I've heard that term before, but remind me what it means exactly.
Basically, it's about tailoring treatment plans to each individual's unique needs.
So moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. Because everyone's different, right? Their genetics, their lifestyle, their medical history, all these factors play a role.
So how does personalized medicine apply to preventing endocrine emergencies specifically?
Well, for example, researchers are looking for ways to identify individuals who are at higher risk of developing certain complications, like DKA.
So if you know someone's more likely to have a DKA episode, you can intervene earlier.
Exactly. It's all about early detection and prevention.
That's fascinating. I imagine technology is playing a big role in all this.
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing some incredible advancements in things like artificial intelligence and machine learning.
AI in healthcare. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? But it's becoming more and more real, and these technologies are helping us analyze vast amounts of data to identify those patterns that we might not be able to see on our own.
So it's like having this superpowered detective working behind the scenes to uncover those hidden clues.
Exactly. And another area where technology is making a huge impact is in the development of closed-loop insulin delivery systems.
Closed loop. What's that?
It's essentially an artificial pancreas. It combines a continuous glucose monitor with an insulin pump to automatically adjust insulin delivery based on real-time blood sugar readings.
Whoa, so it's like having an autopilot for blood sugar control.
Pretty much. And these systems are getting more sophisticated all the time. Some of the newer models even incorporate algorithms that can predict and prevent hypoglycemic episodes.
That's incredible. It seems like we're on the verge of a real revolution in diabetes management.
I think so too. But as amazing as these technological advancements are, it's important to remember that they're only one piece of the puzzle.
Right. We can't just rely on gadgets to solve this problem.
Exactly. There's also a huge emphasis on lifestyle interventions.
Things like diet and exercise.
Exactly. Research has shown that even small changes in these areas can have a big impact on blood sugar control and overall health.
So it's about empowering people to take ownership of their health through those lifestyle choices.
Absolutely. And this is where education and support come in, helping people understand how their choices affect their health and giving them the tools and resources they need to make positive changes.
And it's not just about individual effort, right? We talked about those broader societal factors too, like food insecurity.
Absolutely. Addressing those social determinants of health is crucial. Ensuring access to affordable, nutritious food, creating safe spaces for physical activity, reducing those systemic barriers that prevent people from achieving optimal health.
It's a reminder that health is this complex tapestry woven together by individual choices, medical advancements, and those broader societal influences.
Well said. And it all comes down to recognizing those interconnected factors and working together to create a healthier future for everyone.
Okay, so we've got personalized medicine, cutting-edge technology, lifestyle interventions, and addressing those broader societal factors. It seems like there's a lot happening in this space. The one message you hope our listeners will take away from this conversation about preventing endocrine emergencies?
I think the biggest takeaway is that while these emergencies are serious and can be life-threatening, there's also so much reason for hope.
I love that. It's not all doom and gloom. There are things we can do both individually and collectively to make a difference.
Absolutely. By staying informed, making healthy choices, advocating for better healthcare, and supporting each other, we can create a brighter future for ourselves and for generations to come.
What an inspiring note to end on. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of endocrinology. We hope you found it informative, engaging, and maybe even a little bit empowering. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and take good care of yourself.
You know, we've talked a lot about the physical and technological aspects of preventing these emergencies.
Right, like those closed-loop systems and personalized medicine approaches.
But there's another piece of the puzzle that I think is really important to address.
Oh, tell me more.
The psychological impact of living with a chronic condition like diabetes.
Ah, that's a really important point. It's not just about managing the physical symptoms.
Exactly. Imagine the constant vigilance, the worry about those highs and lows, the fear of complications. It can take a huge toll on mental and emotional well-being.
And I imagine that stress can actually make it harder to manage the condition effectively.
Absolutely. Stress hormones can throw off blood sugar levels, making it even more challenging to stay within that target range.
So it's like a vicious cycle.
Exactly. That's why it's crucial to address the psychological aspects of diabetes alongside those physical and technological interventions.
Okay, so how do we do that? What kind of support is available for people struggling with the emotional burden of diabetes?
Well, one of the most important things is simply acknowledging that these challenges exist.
Creating a space where people feel comfortable talking about their experiences?
Exactly. And there are lots of resources out there to help: support groups, therapy counseling, online communities where people can connect with others who understand what they're going through.
It's that sense of community, knowing you're not alone in this.
Absolutely. And beyond that, there are also techniques that people can learn to manage stress and build resilience. Mindfulness, meditation, yoga, these practices can be really helpful in coping with the emotional ups and downs of diabetes.
So it's about equipping people with those coping mechanisms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Giving them the tools to not just manage their physical health,
Mhm.
but also their mental and emotional well-being.
Because ultimately it's all connected, right? A
Yeah.
healthy mind and a healthy body.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that brings us back to that overarching theme of prevention.
Right. It's not just about reacting to emergencies, it's about creating a holistic approach to diabetes care.
Absolutely. And it's an ongoing journey, a collaboration between individuals, healthcare providers, researchers, and society as a whole.
We all have a role to play in supporting each other and creating a world where people living with diabetes can thrive.
I completely agree.
Hmm.
It's about fostering a sense of empowerment, knowledge, and community.
And ultimately, it's about hope. The hope for a future where these endocrine emergencies become less and less frequent.
A future where people with diabetes can live long, healthy, and fulfilling lives.
Well said. And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of endocrinology. It's been an incredible journey exploring the complexities of this system and the challenges and triumphs of managing endocrine emergencies.
It's been a pleasure sharing this conversation with you. And to our listeners, we hope you've gained some valuable insights and a renewed sense of hope for a healthier future.
Remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand about our bodies and the resources available to us, the better equipped we are to take control of our health and advocate for ourselves and our loved ones.
So keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those conversations going, because together we can make a real difference.
Until next time, stay curious and take care.